Hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news, transfer news, and update show. Have the Manchester United coaches given up on Rasmus Hojlund? More leaks and information coming out about how people inside the club are growing frustrated at his form, but I think there are also elements of sympathy. 16 games without a goal for Hojlund. Amorim has made his feelings very clear about wanting a striker to Manchester United bosses, and what Amorim wants in his striker has been revealed. Amorim himself does speak on Rasmus Hojlund, his form, and we've got some updates on Delap, Ostenhem, Gyökeres, who seem to be Manchester United's striker targets. Now, I will say a lot of the Hojlund stories about him not being rated inside the club, they are coming from Samuel Luckhurst. Last season, Samuel Luckhurst wrote that certain players didn't want to pass Hojlund the ball because they didn't rate him and stuff. So Samuel Luckhurst, Rasmus Hojlund, take with that what you will. But we will dive into the story on Rasmus Hojlund. I also want to dive into some other transfer news, some dressing room leaks, which are positive dressing room leaks, I will say that. More cuts from INEOS, which is just a bit of a joke, and Ten Hag comments. But we're going to have a conversation about Rasmus Hojlund, because I think there is mixed thoughts within the fan base, because Kai says here, Hojlund doesn't get any service, put him in the Liverpool team or any team that creates chances and he'll score goals. I'm not saying that he's the finished article, but the main problem is we don't create chances. And I think the main problem is we don't create chances. We're not putting it on a plate for Hojlund. He's not missing sitters like Darwin Núñez or Kai Havertz. But I do think that Hojlund last season showed some good movement, showed some decent hold-up, showed some decent link-up. And I feel like Hojlund's all-round game has regressed this season. Zirkzee's not scoring goals and we're not creating Zirkzee chances. But at least Zirkzee's holding up the ball and playing a few touches here and there. And I think that's the problem with Hojlund. Confidence is a massive thing. I think when he started scoring goals, he was unbelievable for United. I think running him down the channels is something we don't do, and that, we're not utilising Hojlund's strengths. I think there's an argument either way. And I think with Hojlund, maybe he just needs a loan. Maybe he needs a loan. Maybe he needs a new environment. Look at Rashford. Look at Anthony. We're not scoring goals. We're not creating. I think even with a world-class striker, and it's a difficult job. But he needs to be doing more, Hojlund. He needs to be doing better. I know there's no service, but it's the hold-up. It's the basic play. It needs to be better. So this is what's been said. Manchester United coaches are losing patience with Rasmus Hojlund amid his 16-game goal drought. However, United maintained staff are encouraging Hojlund during the sessions. So Samuel Luckhurst is speaking about staff at Manchester United losing patience with Rasmus Hojlund. Now, this isn't the first time that Samuel Luckhurst has come out with a story involving Rasmus Hojlund, teammates not rating him, not wanting to pass him the ball. There was a story that from Rasmus Hojlund. So there was a story from Samuel Luckhurst in the past, sort of taking a dig at Rasmus Hojlund. So we do know with Samuel Luckhurst, he doesn't seem to be a big admirer of Rasmus Hojlund. So you have to take that into account when reading these kind of reports. But I think, there's probably a lot of reasons for the staff to have potential doubts around Rasmus. I think there's a lot of reason, because this is a guy that we signed last year for £72 million. He scored 16 goals in his first season at United, and he showed some promise. When you got the ball in behind him, when he was running with the ball in front of him, he was lethal. He was very good in the Champions League games. He went and scored 8 games in in 8 games in a row. And when you gave him service, he did normally put the ball in the back of the net. He scored some good goals at the end of the season. And then this season, he had a good 10 minutes in pre-season, then got injured. And I think, it's been hit and miss for him. We've not created much service for him. Looked better under Ten Hag than he did under Amorim, and we all thought maybe he'd look better under Amorim because of Gyökeres, and that's not the case. Now, under Amorim, we're not creating as much, and we are creating the lowest XG in nearly every game and the lowest chances for our striker more than anyone in the league. And I think there's elements of sympathy there with Rasmus Hojlund. But when every time Rasmus Hojlund gets the ball, he's losing it because his touch is poor, or he's being pushed off the ball and he's not winning his duels, and Cheeto comes on and wins more duels in 2 minutes than Hojlund won all game last match, there has to be questions of, I don't think Hojlund's a bad player, and I wouldn't want to write off Hojlund at all. I think it'd be crazy to write off Hojlund. I think Hojlund can become a good player. You look at some of the most elite strikers in football. Look at Marmoush a few years ago. Not many players at age 21, which is Hojlund's age, were the complete article. A lot of strikers weren't that good at age 21. I think Hojlund still has potential to develop into a very good striker, but United need a good striker now. Hojlund in 3 years' time could become a really good player, and that's what we need. But we need a player that's ready now. We don't need a player that's going to be ready in 3 years' time. And I think with Hojlund, if he shows progression from season to season and shows improvement, you can back it. You could back Hojlund's first season, 16 goals, limited service, showed glimpses, showed progression. But I think this season with Rasmus Hojlund, because he's not improved any aspect of his game, he's not shown any improvement, it's hard to get behind. Even though I think there could be a really good player there in future, even though he gets no service, it's hard to get behind Rasmus Hojlund because he's not showing any improvement. He's not showing any progression. His movement is poor. He keeps wrestling. And I think for me, you know, United have to look at it and say, well, we need to bring someone experienced to take the reins and be the striker. But could Hojlund do with a loan? He's very low on confidence, and that's massive for a striker. He's not getting service, so it's going to be difficult for him to get his confidence up. But everything's just not falling off for Hojlund. He's better than how he's been playing, but he's been playing very poorly. Look, Rasmus is struggling, but we ain't exactly playing to his strengths, so I'm not willing to cuss him out, to be honest. We need to improve as a team, and I agree. I have sympathy for Hojlund because we don't play to his strengths. We don't give him the ball. But he needs to do better when he does have the ball. I know he's not a hold-up player. I know he likes to run in behind and run the channels, but we need to see more from Rasmus Hojlund as well. His positioning is frustrating to watch, but we don't create chances, so he doesn't know where to be. And that's the truth about it. That is the truth of the matter. He needs to help the wing-backs more in the system. Well, I don't think that's necessarily his role, but if he runs down the channels, he looks better as well. We never pass him the ball. We're not very good at creating anything as well. Rashford never passed, Garnacho never passed, Antony never passed, Ahmad barely passes. It's a team game. We have individuals. Well, Ahmad's created the second most chances per minute in the league this season, and basically, like, Rashford contributed to like 80% of Hojlund's goals. So Rashford and Ahmad did pass the ball to Hojlund as well. Be more worried about a team that won't pass to Rasmus because they don't rate him. Awful team mentality. But I will say that was just a report from Luckhurst. I can't remember what Luckhurst actually said, but Luckhurst did a report last year, and if I can find it, so I see if I can find it. Luckhurst did a report last year where basically he sort of said that certain teammates at United didn't rate Hojlund or something, or like reluctant to pass the ball to Hojlund or something. I can't remember what it was, but I'm going to search it up now. Rasmus Luckhurst, see what he said. So obviously Samuel Luckhurst has said in Hojlund that the United coaches are losing patience with him. Samuel Luckhurst also said, yeah, this is one of the reports. So this Samuel Luckhurst has had a lot to say on Rasmus Hojlund. So I do sort of take these leaks with a pinch of salt because I think Luckhurst does have a Hojlund agenda and has it out for Hojlund a little bit. But this was a report from Luckhurst. This is one of them. Sometimes served players are startled by the calibre of Erik ten Hag's signings, one that is believed to be particularly perplexed by the addition of Rasmus Hojlund. So Samuel Luckhurst has said before that certain Man United players don't rate Hojlund. So that was said by Luckhurst in the past. And then Luckhurst said, if I can find it, I can't find the other one. But there was a few things said by Luckhurst in regards to Rasmus Hojlund. So, again, you don't know the truth in the story, but he was suggesting there's a couple of players in the squad that maybe don't rate him. And now he's saying the coaches are growing frustrated and they potentially don't rate him. He said this back in December as well. He said that, Anthony Wout-Weghorst, Rasmus Hojlund and Mason Mount are among signings who have been questioned by some of the United players. So this again was another example of a Samuel Luckhurst report here in regards to Rasmus Hojlund. This is it. This is the report. This is the report I was talking to. I should have actually prepped this before the video. This was the report I was talking about. A number of Manchester United players remain unconvinced by Rasmus Hojlund and reluctant to pass on the ball. Big up Never a Foul. Big up Never a Foul for the raid as well. Only just seen that. So Samuel Luckhurst, who said this last year that certain Man United players weren't convinced by Hojlund, didn't want to pass on the ball, is now saying this year that United coaches are losing patience with Hojlund. Do I fully believe Samuel Luckhurst? No, because I do think he's got a Rasmus Hojlund agenda. But does the story at the same time make sense? Yes. He's not been convincing. I think the coaches have come in, and since Ruben Amorim's come in, Hojlund hasn't done much, and Ruben Amorim will be having doubts. Ruben Amorim's made comments. Ruben Amorim said things to people. So yeah, Ruben Amorim will, of course, be having doubts as well. regardless of the fee, Rasmus is a young developing player expected to come in and do too much without support. I agree. The biggest problem with Rasmus was the people that brought him in. He was third choice striker at Atalanta. He was 20 years of age. He'd scored 9 league goals, and you were willing to spend 72 million on him and make him be the main man with so little experience. You've got to look at the board and the hierarchy for that. I think had Harry Kane been at the club and Rasmus Hojlund was slowly learning from Harry Kane, and we had a better and more stable team environment, I think we're looking at a good Rasmus Hojlund. I think had he gone to Arsenal, he'd be starting striker for Arsenal with Kai Havertz, and that might sound like an unpopular opinion. I think one of the reasons he's bad is because he's at Manchester United. I don't think he's a bad player. I just don't think he's fully ready. And we knew that when we signed him, but because we didn't sign any experienced striker, we had to act like he was fully ready. He was third choice striker at Atalanta. We were just stupid enough to pay 72 million on him. I think the environment, the lack of service and the lack of development is killing his confidence and is killing him as a player. And ultimately, you do look at Hojlund and say, does he need a loan? My fear, thank you very much for the super chat, Ray. My fear is if we get another centre forward, then we don't pass the ball to Osimhen because they question him. It's the same nonsense. I think, though, Osimhen's proven Hojlund isn't. Look, the reports that Manchester United players question the signing of Hojlund, don't rate him, won't pass the ball to him. I don't think they would do that with an Osimhen because Osimhen is one of the highest rated strikers in football, whereas Rasmus Hojlund wasn't very well known when he came to Manchester United. So I get your point, but I do think Osimhen comes in, don't create a lot of service, he could struggle as well. I don't think a striker comes in and scores 20 goals for United. It doesn't matter who they are, doesn't matter if it's prime Ronaldo. I don't think a striker comes in and scores 20 goals for United unless we improve the all-round team. A striker comes in and is an improvement on Rasmus Hojlund, most definitely. But I think we need that left 10. We need that other wing-back. We need a midfielder that can pass the ball. We need a centre-back and play out from the back. We need to improve the stability and the creativity of this team before anything as well. Man United is not a recovery station for developing players. We need ready-made players because we're relying on the developing players to step up, be ready-made at age 19, 20. Yeah, it's ridiculous. We need ready-made players, and we keep relying on Euros or Mainos or Garnachos or Hojlunds. And as Varane said, at Real Madrid when you're young, you've got very little responsibility. At Manchester United, Rasmus Hojlund, who had his first season in a top 5 league, a third choice striker for Atalanta with 9 goals, is now expected to be the main man leading the line for United. Kobbie Mainoo and Garnacho, that are 18, 19 years of age, are now expected to be leaders in the dressing room. You know, Rafael Varane was spot on. At Real Madrid, you've got the experience, you've got the stability. At Manchester United, when you're young, we want you to do so much. We are so much of the young players at United. I think Varane was spot on as well. We've almost never had worse situations for young players to develop in. That's why I want Matheus Cunha. That's why I want Gyökeres. That's why I want a good midfielder, a Schlotterback at centre-back. Because we need to improve the core. I mean, we probably need to replace Onana as well. But I'm all for bringing in Dorgu, great. And I'm all for bringing in Kenda, great. But we need to make sure a Schlotterback, an experienced midfielder that can play the ball forward, a left 10 like Cunha, a striker like Osimhen, if we want to push forward as well. Yeah. Someone said, at the end of the day, the players don't pass to Hojlund. He doesn't get much service or much of the ball. But his movement could be better. He wrestles a lot and he gives the ball away a lot. I agree. Yeah. Most of the times we pass to Rasmus, we lose possession. Again, I do think, though, sometimes we pass the ball to Rasmus when he's in a position that is just near impossible. And you're literally passing the ball to him in a really stupid position. But yeah, I do agree. He gives the ball away way too much. Way too much. I'm fed up with the media pressure on our young players. I think the problem is because the experienced players haven't stepped up, and because there's a lack of experienced players, there's too much pressure on our young players, and we need to create that environment where we can mould the young players in, and that's a big problem. Rasmus should have been allowed to be an understudy and develop. Not every player is a world beater so young. Exactly. Erling Haaland is an exception. You look at Marmoush, Aubameyang, Gyökeres, Isak. They all sort of 23, 24 before they even moved up. Some of them 25, 26, Nana's rubbish, we need to sell him. The frustrating thing is Nana's been poor, and Nana's annoying me because he always punches the ball into danger, and I just think, what are you doing? But I also think with Nana, we got a striker, a left 10, a wing back, and a centre mid that we also need to improve. So yeah, Rasmus Hojlund signing has been questioned. Some Man United players are questioning the calibre of a signing of Rasmus Hojlund. But look, these are all from this is everything that Luckhurst has said on Rasmus Hojlund. So I will say this with the report that I read in today's story. This is what Luckhurst has had to say on Rasmus Hojlund. I don't know how well you can see that. Sometimes served Manchester United players are startled by the calibre of Erik ten Hag's signings. One is believed to be particularly perplexed by the addition of Hojlund. Anthony Weltware calls Rasmus Hojlund and Mason Mount are among the signings that have been questioned by some of the United players, was said by Luckhurst. And then he said a number of Manchester United players remain unconvinced by Hojlund and reluctant to pass on the ball. So, look, Rasmus Hojlund and Samuel Luckhurst, Samuel Luckhurst has been on Hojlund's case since day dot, but I think his story's probably got some element of truth to it because Hojlund's not been impressive. He's now saying today that United coaches are losing patience with Hojlund amid his 16-goal drought. There's probably strong elements of truth to this story when you look at the form and where he's been playing, and he's not impressed the new coaches. So what does Amorim feel? What's Amorim sort of made clear here? It's not just the media, too much of the fan base, no time and patience for young players, I agree. Onana started the season well, but it's dropped off since the new year. Since Ruben Amorim's come in, Onana's fallen off a cliff. Before Ruben Amorim came in, Onana was honestly one of the best keepers in the league. And then this is the thing with Onana. He's really good for a bit. He gets you excited. Then he's really shite for a bit. And then he's really good for a bit. You're like, ooh. And then now he's really shite for a bit. He started so badly at United in the Champions League, but the second half of last season he was good. So we're like, ooh. Then he started this season well. We're like, ooh. And then he's gone back to shite Onana. But he's just giving the ball away. And the amount of times Onana could maybe tip it over the bar or push it out further, and he's pushing it into the opposition striker. It's so frustrating as well. Someone said Zirkzee got way more stick than Hojlund, but Zirkzee's the better player. I agree. I think this stick on Zirkzee was unfair. I would say that now. I think Hojlund, because maybe he was scoring good goals in the Champions League against Bayern Munich, maybe helped him more to begin with. But the stick that Joshua Zirkzee got compared to Hojlund's first season, 100%. So Ruben Amorim has made it clear to Jason Wilcox he wants a striker, and that was said by Graham Bailey. While Ruben Amorim acknowledges that very few chances are being created for Rasmus Hojlund and expresses sympathy for the striker, those inside United are frustrated with how Hojlund has regressed this season. His touches, passes and overall influence on the game has diminished, compounded by his failure to score. So Ruben Amorim has made it clear he wants a striker. He acknowledges that Hojlund isn't getting much help, but there's a frustration with those inside Manchester United and the bosses about Hojlund's decline. And, Amorim makes his message clear, I want a striker. It's very obvious that Amorim wants a striker. So what kind of striker does Ruben Amorim want? Fabrizio Romano said this: Manchester United's intention this summer is to sign at least one player who can play behind the striker and one centre-forward, a proper number 9 who can score goals regularly. Ruben Amorim wants a number 9 that can score goals regularly, with Laurie Whitwell also confirming number 9 is the priority signing this summer. Laurie Whitwell also said that Ruben Amorim wants his ideal striker to command presence and be an aggressive runner. Now, what Hojlund is an aggressive runner, but he doesn't have a commanding presence. So Man United want a number 9 that can score goals, that's a command present, and that can be an aggressive runner. That's been said by Laurie Whitwell. That's been said by Fabrizio Romano. Just to say, big up everybody watching right now. Always appreciate the support, enjoying the comments, enjoying getting you guys involved. Over 702 watching, so please do hit the like button. Let's go for 300 likes. Big up Diego as well. Hojlund is a nice player who would do well anywhere but United. When he does leave, he'll bang in goals. He never gets any service, and that's the whole fan base on his back. I agree with elements of that. I think a lot of the criticism of Hojlund is warranted, but I do think people take it too far. I think he's been poor this season, but I'm also aware that if he leaves United and starts scoring goals, I wouldn't be shocked. He's not the ready-made product. We shouldn't be relying on him to be the ready-made product, but we are because of incompetency at the top of the club. He should have been learning of someone more experienced. But I also think he's got good fundamentals there, and he's got everything you need to be a good striker, but he's not using it and he's not showing it. So for me, if he's not using it, he's not showing it in the second season at United, not showing progress, you do look at it and say, maybe a loan. I think you have to. It obviously depends what he does between now and the end of the season. I generally believe Hojlund will be a good player. I just don't know if he'll be a good player for Man United. And I don't like to say that, but I don't think we're the right club for a developing player at striker right now when we don't create any service for our strikers. Rasmus and Zirkzee are completely different profiles. A player Zirkzee's a 10, Rasmus has found space on the box on a number of occasions and the ball doesn't get past. You can see frustration in his face. I agree. Sometimes Hojlund makes good runs and the ball just doesn't get past to him. Would you rather Delap, Ostenhem, or Gyökeres? Probably Gyökeres, but I like all three options. I like Delap, but I would rather go proven scorer with a bit more experience as well. You can have Wilson on a free. I mean, if he could stay fit, he could do a job. He's not a bad striker, although he was pretty appalling when he came on yesterday. Onana seems a bit clueless. So often saves the ball and puts it back in dangerous situations. That's my problem with Onana at the moment. The amount of times he saves the ball and he just gives it back to the opposition, it annoys me. Could see Rasmus looking better on loan. Rashford's doing well at Villa. Anthony's doing really well at Betis despite the red card. There was rumours of Pogba returning and having a phone call with Amorim, but I don't know how credible that story was as well. United the curse. We called out Wan-Bissaka for not being offensive. Yeah. Well, Wan-Bissaka wasn't as bad going forward as people made out. It's just now he's left Man United. People want to give him the credit for it. That's what I think. You know, he had a really good game versus Arsenal, didn't he? But let's move on to the next bit of information story. So what do we know in regards to transfers and United's potential attempts to fix the striker situation right now? Manchester United are attentive to Victor Osimhen and Victor Gyökeres. United are being informed on the situations with weekly updates. The budget is going to be crucial this summer, says Fabrizio Romano. Liam Delap is considered a more plausible target for the striker position for Manchester United. His price would also decrease if Ipswich Town get relegated. So, this was said by top sources. Laurie Whitwell, Fabrizio Romano, and David Ornstein are the three best journalists in the United space. I say this every video, but Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein probably get the most exclusives, but Laurie Whitwell is more of a designated Man United journalist. He works for The Athletic. He's one of the best. They are the three best sources of information. They're the only three sources you need to listen to. Andy Mitten's decent. Adam Crafton's decent. Whoever works for The Athletic is decent. You know, Sammy Mockbell, he's Arsenal really, but he does get a few United stories here and there. You know, there's some other good journalists in the space that aren't necessarily United journalists, but if you want to stay up to date on all the United news, just listen to Ornstein, Whitwell, and Romano. And this is what they're saying. United are looking at Osimhen and Gyökeres, but the budget will be crucial. Delap is also considered, and if Ipswich are relegated, he is more attainable. So this looks like the striker targets as well. Someone said Xavi isn't Xavi Simons, I'm assuming, in the 10, not Cunha. I think Cunha's a better player than Xavi Simons. Look at Cunha and what he did versus Liverpool all by himself. He's got that like Bruno trait and that Ahmad trait where, you know, if the team around him is crap, he can still produce something like Ahmad can, like Bruno can. And we need that because we need players that can produce if other players aren't performing because, you know, we can't rely on other players to perform as well. I would take Delap. Delap's decent. Cunha would be my first choice. I know Cunha's more of a 10. He could play striker. I would go all out for Cunha in the summer. 60 million release clause. Cunha wants United. I go all out for Cunha. If I can't get Kenda for a good price, I'd go for Kirkes. I'd then go all out for Schlotterbeck. And then I go all out for a striker and then a midfielder that can replace sort of Eriksen and Casemiro. I think generally, though, if we get rid of Rashford for 50 million, we get rid of Anthony for 25 million, he still does well on loan. Malacia goes, Casemiro, which is the big one, goes. Eriksen's obviously going to go. And then we do sell one of Zirkzee or Hojlund. I think we are in a position to spend quite a lot this summer. But to be honest, something says to me, I think Zirkzee's got a future at United. I'm liking Zirkzee. You know, I think if you put him in the right team, the right environment, the right system, there's a good player in Zirkzee. I think he's one of those players where he feeds off the players around him. And he was very good at Bologna. I have a feeling that if you got really intense runners and you played an intense system and Zirkzee was there connecting and linking up the play, I think Zirkzee could have and this might be an unpopular opinion, but I've seen something in Zirkzee to say he can work in this 10 role under Amorim and he's looking better, he's looking fitter. Like, I see something in Zirkzee for the future, you know. I see something in Zirkzee's close control and link up. He's very reliant on the intensity. If the intensity is slow, we can't get Zirkzee in the game. But when we up the intensity, Zirkzee's nice touches and stuff really improves. He's stepped up his game lately. I see a future in Zirkzee. People are saying Cunha too slow. He's faster than Zirkzee. Dorgu's been positive. Yeah, I've been really impressed with Dorgu so far. He's been positive. There won't be money for all the players you wish for. I am aware of that, Malcolm. I just wish for them, knowing there's probably no money. I told you Zirkzee was good. Idiots didn't believe me. If you watched Zirkzee at Bologna, you knew he was a good player. And I wanted us to sign Zirkzee because I saw bits of him at Bologna and he was a good player. It was frustrating because I knew Zirkzee was better than what we were seeing. And I think everyone did overreact on Zirkzee. It's not been world-class amazing, but he's shown good stuff, Zirkzee. People want Kenda, but they haven't really watched him. United fans get influenced by others. Kenda will be another bad buy. I think Kenda profile-wise could be a good buy, but I'd rather get Kirkes. And I know we just signed Dorgu at left wing back, but just chuck Dorgu to right wing back, get Kirkes for left wing back. I think because he likes a left foot to a right wing back as well. And then you've also got another left wing back option in Dorgu and Kirkes in case one of them got injured, because then we're back to the same situation. I'd like Zirkzee to get a full preseason with Amorim and be fit. Yeah, I think Zirkzee, one of the things I've noticed about Zirkzee, and I think Ruben Amorim literally said he was slimmer as well, but he looks fitter, he looks in better shape. And Ruben Amorim said that on Joshua Zirkzee as well. And I think that has made a fair bit of a difference, if I was going to be completely honest. But let's dive into some more comments. Amorim did say this on Rasmus Hojlund. He said a striker needs a very good team to deliver very good balls for him, and we are not helping our strikers at the moment, which is very true. Rasmus Hojlund, I think, wants a new striker, is aware he needs a new striker, and is growing frustrated with Hojlund. But at the same time, Ruben Amorim is smart enough to know, well, what service are we creating for Hojlund? You know, he's not done enough, and yes, he's given the ball away, and his hold-up play could be better, but it's not like he's doing a Darwin Núñez and missing sitter after sitter after sitter. You put Rasmus Hojlund in Darwin Núñez position, and he'd have probably scored a few goals that Darwin Núñez had missed. I think there is elements of that as well. I'd sort top striker first rather than sanction bigger spend on more developing types. I agree. I think Cunha would be my first signing because he can play striker and left 10, and attacking reinforcement is so key. Cunha, Ahmad, and Gyökeres front threes would be unreal. It would be absolutely unreal in my opinion. I don't know why some people are negative on Cunha. Cunha's been unbelievable this season. Look what he did versus Liverpool all by himself. So I saw this from Dylan McBennett, and I wanted to include this because it's a positive leak, it's a positive story, and I feel like there's too much negativity around the club. But he said, this sources, Manchester United players are firmly behind Ruben Amorim despite the recent run of form, and believe the Portuguese manager will bring success to the club if given time. And I think this is true. I think there's one or two bad eggs in the dressing room that were probably the type of players that turned on Ten Hag, the managers before that probably aren't the biggest fan of Ruben Amorim. But I believe the bulk of the Manchester United squad is behind Ruben Amorim and knows that it's going to take time, and knows that he's going to need the right recruitment, and knows what he did at Sporting, and believe he can achieve success in time. There's going to be one or two bad eggs at United that won't like Ruben Amorim, that won't like the system, that may cause problems. But I think the majority of the squad, in my opinion, are behind Ruben Amorim, despite other leaks saying otherwise. I do believe this personally. Kluivert over Cunha all day. Nah, Cunha's better than Kluivert, and Cunha's a better fit for the system. Kumud, Ahmad, and David more realistic. Well, Jonathan David, is he a free agent in the summer? Apparently, Jonathan David's a free agent in the summer, apparently. Someone said, Anana world class. Hi Alice, Zirkzee has improved massively in the last few weeks. His concentration awareness has improved significantly, 100%. When the intensity is good, Zirkzee's good. When the intensity is slow, you haven't got those runners. Zirkzee relies on runners and the players around him to be playing intensely. That's one thing I've noticed as well. Let's fix our chance creation before we get a striker. Well, Cunha would improve that as well, because Cunha can create. No way Cunha chooses a team that's not in Europe over staying at Bournemouth. Yeah, whereas Kluivert, but Cunha could choose United as well. Someone said, I do think Amorim's proving too stubborn. He proved his point, does not have the players for his system. Yeah, he's a little bit stubborn. I think he could make adaptations. He could change things. I think Delo playing every game could be rest Delo, have Masraoui at right wing back. Like, Delo, I think, needs a rest. But then Delo's one of the only players that can stay fit. And Delo and Bruno Fernandes, I don't know what the Portuguese have got in them, but they just don't get injured, do they, at the moment? If Bruno gets injured, we're in big trouble. We are. For me, like I said, if Ahmad and Bruno get injured, we're screwed. Ahmad's season's over. Because Ahmad and Bruno are the only players that we can play crap, but they can win us a game. So if something happens to Bruno, I think we are in big trouble. But hopefully Bruno stays fit. So let's talk about these INEOS cuts then, because we've got some news and updates coming out in regards to INEOS cuts. Lunch at Carrington for everyone except first team players has been reduced to soup and sandwiches, and that includes for coaches and analysts. Surgeon Ratcliffe is to close the staff canteen at Old Trafford and replace the free lunches currently on offer with fruit. Ratcliffe is also set to implement a similar move at Carrington, with only players receiving lunch gratis. The remainder of the staff will be offered soup and bread, probably so you can get rid of a few cooking staff as well. But it's just weird. It's so weird. We spend over $4 million a week on player wages, but yet we're rationing nearly everything. The next thing you know, will be banning toilet roll, saying everyone has to bring in their own toilet roll. If there was a story next week saying that Man United have asked staff to bring their own toilet roll in because they're no longer buying toilet roll, I wouldn't be shocked. Because, look, I get that Jim Ratcliffe has to make unpopular decisions and this club is in a financially bad situation because of the Glazers. But lunch being reduced, only sandwiches, soup, bread, bring your own lunch in. It's more people going. It's just a bit embarrassing. Every time I read a story about United, it's just a little bit embarrassing, isn't it? Manchester United have been accused of trying to airbrush away the club's past as staff brace themselves for another round of redundancies. Employees have been summoned for a meeting that will take place at Old Trafford on Monday and are expecting to be told of 200 jobs slashed. It's like 400 redundancies. There's now food slashing. Christmas parties gone. The next thing you know, they'll be saying, bring your own toilet roll in because we don't supply toilet roll. Like, this is where the cost cutting is going. It's crazy because it's like, I'm all for you've got to run the club more financially stable. The Glazers have run this club into the ground. INEOS have got to make difficult decisions. I'm aware of that, but some of these stories they're just ridiculous. They are absolutely ridiculous, and there's no other word for it. Like, I don't know what the next cost cut will be. Who knows? Anyway, continuing on into this next story. So Erik ten Hag was asked about Manchester United. This came out via Fabrizio, saying, if there's one thing I miss, it's Old Trafford. I've already decided not to take any job until July 1st, so that's the start of the season. So Erik ten Hag is taking time off work. He will not be joining any club mid-season. He's made very clear, Eric, but he does miss Old Trafford. So that's the first. Erik ten Hag's not spoken out much about United. I thought Erik ten Hag could speak out a little bit about United and the Glazers and INEOS and say some things. But he's been very respectful and not said anything or given any juicy insight, to be honest, as well. But apparently, Erik ten Hag has sat down with SEG Stories for a podcast that's being released tomorrow. So apparently, there's going to be an Erik ten Hag interview podcast out tomorrow. So maybe we're going to get more information on that tomorrow, but that'll be interesting to see. But listen, people, I just wanted to do a 30-minute show to discuss Hojlund, discuss the news and get your thoughts on it. I will be back tonight with a 10-minute roundup video or a live stream if anything juicy happens. Thank you for watching and tuning in today's show. Great comments as always. See you next time. Bye.